Hi, Jonathan York from Bay Financial Partners, looking at investment markets. Really a question of where to try and start this week. A lot happening out there in the investment markets. You've got President Trump now looking like the trade tariffs with China are going to be back on, talking about 50 billion initially, and that seems to be a little bit of reversal from sort of previous weeks where they were looking at sort of trying to sit down and come to some sort of arrangement, an agreement. That appears to be potentially off the table at present, and he's going to push forward, say, with the trade tariffs against China. On the slightly positive side, it looks like the Korea summit is now back on. Just a week after supposedly President Trump sent a letter to North Korea saying that he was very upset and disappointed with the reaction and the hostilities from North Korea, and the summit was off. Now apparently it's all back on, and in one press conference even sort of turned around and goes, "What letter?" Certainly quite a bit of flip-flopping coming from the US President, and it's just going to be very interesting to see if this meeting, supposedly for June 12th, is actually going to take place in Singapore. In terms of data coming out of the US, a couple of the big US banks, JP Morgan, have come out and said that sort of trading is pretty sort of flat compared with this time last year. That's taken their shares down a little bit. Morgan Stanley have come out and just said that trading activity is slowed. So again, that's put a little bit of pressure on the banks. On the back of that, the US equity markets certainly taking a little bit of heat as well. So to sort of sum up, potentially the start of a very nervous summer for global equity markets. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it sort of plays through. Potentially there's implications out there for the Fed that was on certainly an interest rate hiking trajectory. It's going to be very interesting to see if that hike in June now comes to fruition. Certainly with a little bit of nervousness out there and potential sort of further increase in market volatility that potentially could just be put on hold. Now that all comes on the back of the situation in Italy, where you've got really a little bit of a sort of political crisis out there, and potentially another sort of referendum sort of looming for the Italian participation in the euro. No one expects at the present for Italy to sort of try and withdraw from the euro, but again, there is a little bit of a populist movement out there that is showing a little bit of unrest. And this comes against a background where Italy is doing pretty well. Growth is improving, unemployment is falling, and I say it's just very interesting to see how this is going to play through. Potentially, it looks like a little bit of a rocky road over the summer period. With the increase in geopolitical tensions, oil's under a little bit of pressure as well. Potentially, if you have got a little bit of a slowdown in the global economy, that sort of negatively impacts oil. Also, obviously, a little bit of talk coming out of OPEC as well, where they're looking at maybe just sort of relaxing the production caps out there. And that's taken oil comfortably down from the sort of $70 on WTI and $80 on Brent. Also as well, obviously you've got the start of the sort of hurricane season potentially in the North Atlantic. The first storm has already come through, and it's just going to be, interesting to see how that will further impact the oil production over the next sort of 2 to 3 months. Brexit is sort of creeping forward, but again, there's been no real sort of momentum going forward. In the UK, Prime Minister May is maybe facing a few sort of issues after the abortion vote in Southern Ireland. Potentially puts a little bit of pressure on the Northern Ireland vote now. Yet to see if there is going to be one in Northern Ireland, but there's certainly a little bit of a case building for it, a little bit of public pressure coming through. But certainly the Northern Ireland Party, to support the Conservative government and really keep them in power, are firmly against that. So I say it's going to be interesting to see how that sort of plays through. And potentially it's just a further sort of pressure point on Theresa May's Conservative government. Here in New Zealand, the government's announced that it's going to try and eradicate Mycoplasma bovis. It's going to be very interesting because if New Zealand does manage to do it, it'll be the first country that has managed to do it. Cost is going to be around sort of $800 million, and it's going to be interesting to see whether they can achieve it. Potentially over the next sort of 3 to 4 months, they're sort of going to try and put some policies in place, some procedures in place to try and eradicate this disease. But then it's going to be interesting to really just to see the sort of impact on the economy and really what sort of impact that has on New Zealand growth. At present, the jury's out on that, and I say it's just going to be interesting to see how it sort of plays through. So it's still a good time to check those KiwiSaver balances to make sure you've got enough contributions to get that maximum tax credit. So if you're unsure on what that is, call us on 0800 867 323. As always in New Zealand, if you're looking for income options, there are plenty of alternatives out there available. And call us on 0800 867 323 or go to the website www.bayfinancialpartners.co.nz for lots of interesting articles. We look forward to speaking to you soon.